Hey, what's up? This week we're going to be doing UFC Moncton Oezdemir against Anthony Smith, and it's been a little bit since we had a UFC, so I'm pretty excited for this one. We're going to be getting back into it on a pretty good run. I think there's like 5, 6 events in a row, so we're going to be having a pretty good run to end the year with events. And the first fight of the night is Stephen Ray against Justin Ayari, and I actually have a play on this fight. The line opened. I didn't really think the line was very good. I thought it should have been close to a pick'em. So I got Justin Ayari at a plus 170 or plus 170 or plus 175. I can't remember, but one of those two. And I bet him, and I think that he's a pretty good underdog in this fight. And but this is an interesting fight. Justin Ayari is a striker. He's 1-1 in the UFC, and he's returning from a layoff a little bit over a year. And this is going to be the first fight since he fought Darren Till in May of 2017. So it's been a little bit, but he's moving down to 155. And getting a guy like Darren Till, being in the cage with him, being able to go through rounds, take his shots, I mean, that's a big guy. He's someone that might be going up to 185 now. And Stevie Ray, he's not going to feel quite as big or as powerful as Darren Till, I bet. So probably going to be a good change for Ayari, especially if he can make the weight comfortably. And I've seen him, and he looks like he's in very good shape. He looked like he's taking the cut serious, so it looks like it's not going to be a big problem for him. And he's only 26 years old, so he should have really improved on, during this time off. He's training at a really good gym now, so we're going to see what happens. He came over. Now he's training in the United States at ATT, so I mean they've been on a run lately in the UFC. But Ayari, he has a hands-down style, ton of lateral movement, reads his opponent's cousin distance, and he has a plethora of attacks. He throws a lot of shots, nice inside-outside leg kicks. He uses a lot of front kicks to the body. He has some pretty good hands. He has a nice 1-2. He throws it right down the pipe. Good power on a straight right hand. It's probably his best shot, most powerful strike. He has a nice check left hook. He usually likes to land it, circle back to the center of the cage if you, kind of get him backing up. And he has a decent uppercuts. He has a good overhand right. He tends to use only one-and-done attacks. He doesn't really throw in combination as much as you like to see. And he can get clipped. He's been dropped a few times in the octagon, but that has been against bigger guys. But, when you have a hands-down style like Ayari, you always run that risk of getting dropped. But he has solid cardio. He'll push hard for the finish. And, if he believes he needs a finish late, he definitely goes for it. He's a tough guy. And he has been finished 2 times via strikes, but definitely has a pretty good chin. And he isn't an offensive wrestler. He's much more of a range striker than a grappler. Doesn't really look. He does look sometimes. He'll look to close the distance with the overhand right. He'll grab a single collar, and he likes to throw knees to the body and head from that position. Decent double leg takedown as well. And if he can't get it, he will transition. He'll go for a body lock. Good job of working to the back, dragging the opponent down. So he does have some decent chain wrestling. And I've seen him get taken down a couple times by Darren Till. But he looked to be decent off of his back. He had fast hips, decent guard. He was looking for arm bars and triangles. And even attacked with a leg lock as well. He does a good job of getting his feet on the hips. He'll land short elbows and punches. And he gave Darren Till a good match. He's a solid, well-rounded fighter. He's going to be quicker and lighter on his feet, in my opinion. He needs to use that lateral movement, walk right into shots, and try not to get hit with any big shots. Because he does have he does get rocked sometimes when he gets hit. So definitely I could see Stevie Ray maybe catching him with a big shot. And I don't think Ayari will have wrestling in his game plan unless he's really getting pieced up on the feet. But I think that if he can keep that lateral movement, I think that he should be pretty safe on the feet. And Stevie Ray, he's a popular fighter. He's had some mixed success in the UFC. He began his UFC career super strong. He was 5-1, but he's lost 2 in a row. And a loss here, it could spell the end of his UFC tenure. Who knows? He's a solid, well-rounded fighter, but he's a pretty low-output striker. He doesn't use a lot of movement. Stands very flat-footed, but he does come forward. He tries to control the center of the cage, and he does a good job cutting fighters off, keeping them near against the cage, controlling the center. And he'll close the distance with hard left and right overhands. He really swings for the fences, but he's kind of slow. He does have a decent straight left hand, and he has a nice low leg kick. So, I mean, that's something that you should try to use in this fight. Try to chop those legs of Ayari. But he doesn't throw those leg kicks as much as I would like to see. He will try to land some spinning kicks to the head, to the body, spinning back fists, and especially when his opponents are against the cage. He does have some decent pop in his hands. He has 6 KOs and 21 wins. And he's shown a good chin over his career. He's only been finished 1 time by strikes, but he did get KO'd pretty badly by Paul Felder. And then he got rocked by Cajun Johnson in his last fight, so his chin could be going a bit. And he is a tough dude. He'll continue to push forward unless you put him out. He's strong for the division. He's a pretty good wrestler. He's probably not a active wrestler as well, just like Ayari, but he likes to get double leg takedowns when his opponents are against the cage. Decent body locks. He's pretty strong in the clinch. He can control fighters against the cage, land short, short punches, and decent knees, decent elbows. But it's also where Paul Felder caught him in that same position. On top, he has decent ground and pound. He does a good job controlling position, being able to win scrambles, good rear naked chokes. He has 8 submissions in his career. He has been submitted 4 times, so definitely has some questionable submission defense. And he's been in very close fights over his career, a lot of split decisions, and I'm sure he wants to make this a clear win or get a finish here. I see him trying to close the distance, land his overhands, land his kicks. And I think he should try to throw more leg kicks, like I said, and slow the movement of Ayari. Ayari seems to be a bit chinny, in his as well. So if Ray could land clean, he could possibly finish. I also think Ray will try to grind against the fence at times, get takedowns if he struggles to find his range in the striking. And this is a close fight. I could see either guy winning. Like I said, I think it's more of like a pick'em fight, and that's why I went with the odds on Ayari. And now the odds do indicate more of a pick'em fight, I believe. And Ayari hasn't fought in over a year. And if he was more active, I would be a lot more confident in picking him. But, I see Stevie Ray landing a couple punches, maybe hurting Ayari. But I think Ayari will land the more volume, cleaner shots over 3 rounds. And I'm going to say he takes a split decision or a unanimous decision against Stevie Ray. And, yes, and Ayari gets the win here. And I'm going to go with him. And up next, we have Arjun Bhullar against Marcelo Gohm. And, this is an interesting fight. Everyone knows about Arjun Bhullar. He's a former Olympian. He's someone that trains at AKA. Very good friends with Daniel Cormier. They came up in the ranks wrestling, even though I think Arjun is Canadian, so he was wrestling for Canada, but they know each other through wrestling. And, Arjun made the transition, and, he's came in pretty highly touted, and kind of looked underwhelming so far in the UFC, only 1-1, and he lost a pretty embarrassing fashion in his last fight. He lost by Omoplata. It was a big upset. And, he's a decent athlete, but he's a little bit plodding with his movement, but he likes to close the distance, walk you down when he looks for the clinch or an overhand right. He has an okay jab. He'll throw the jab, then come over the top with the overhand right. Decent power. He dropped Luis Henrique in their fight. He does a good job of disguising his overhand by faking level changes in the single collar clinch entries. Very similar to how DC caught Stipe, and he kind of fights in a similar way on the feet. But he does tend to get tired as the fight goes on, and he'll start to use a lot of lateral movement and try to look just to counterpunch, walk people into his shots, and that's where he could get in trouble a little bit. But he has decent hand speed, and in the pocket he can be dangerous. He does struggle to close the distance at time. He can be hit with shots coming in. And I actually thought he looked a lot better with the striking versus Adam Weiserick. He was doing a better job closing distance with longer punchy combinations. He was landing uppercuts. He rocked Weiserick with the left hand. But, once he took it to the ground, he seemed like he got a little bit complacent, and he admitted that. But, everyone knows about his wrestling. He's an Olympic gold medalist, I believe. Very strong wrestler. And he's always looking to close distance, get in the clinch, throw short uppercuts and hooks, and then level change for that double leg. And when he can get his hands locked, he's extremely strong. You saw that against Luis Henrique. He picked him up, put him over his shoulder, and just, walked into the center of the cage and dropped him like he was a small child. It's pretty impressive. Does a good job of getting the over-under on the clinch, landing short knees, slowing the fight down. He has a good single as well. On top, he doesn't really do much. He lands short shots, and he tries to get to half guard, and then he can land a little bit harder shots from there. He has good control. He's pretty heavy on top, but, he showed some deficiencies in his jiu-jitsu knowledge in his last fight. He could have easily hopped over or ripped his arm out to defend that omoplata. And, he looked like he was, a little bit too complacent there, like he didn't think he was going to get tapped out with that, or didn't really know the position. But, that's something that could be fixable pretty quickly, in my opinion. And Bhullar needs to, look to use his punches to close the distance, take down Gohm, get him on the ground, make him uncomfortable. And, Gohm lost to a very similar fighter in his last matchup against Timothy Johnson. And, Bhullar's capable of doing the same thing, if not better. So, definitely a winnable fight for Arjun Bhullar. And Marcelo Gohm, he's young and athletic. He's a striker. He's looking to bounce back from his first loss of his career in his last fight. And Gohm will start training at ATT for this camp. So he should be, improved as well. And this is going to be his first fight that's not in Brazil. And this is probably his best opponent to date on paper. So this is a tough test for him. But he's a solid striker. He has good punches and hooks. He's at his best when he's moving forward. He also has a very nice leg kicks, front kicks to the body. And he throws a lot of volume. He was very hesitant in his last fight. He was getting pushed back. He didn't want to get clinched up or taken down. Very weary of going to the ground, trying to one-shot his opponent. And he lacks that huge power. He's much more of an accumulation striker, so that's really not his style. He needs to be coming forward, walking people down, being the bully himself. And when he hurts you, he will swarm. He's very fast with hooks, long combinations. He's finished all his wins in round 1. And he kind of slows down after that. So does Bhullar, but both guys tend to slow after the first round. Gohm needs to come forward in this fight and throw first. He can't be hesitant. He can't wait for Bhullar to close the distance, because if he does that, Bullar's going to boss the fight. And Gohm has great double legs, good body locks himself, and on top he has devastating ground and pound, but that's against guys that aren't very high level. He actually hasn't fought very high level guys. I mean, his best win is probably Christian Colombo. So, that just shows he's only 26. These heavyweights tend to peak at much older ages, so definitely has a lot of time to develop. He's a very good fighter, but probably isn't the most seasoned guy at this point. But he works very quickly on top. He likes to get to the back, get the rear naked choke. He isn't great in the clinch. He seems to lack some physical strength, and doesn't have the greatest technique. He doesn't dig for underhooks. He doesn't really work to change the position in technical ways. It's a lot of explosion, and I haven't seen him on his back much, but I imagine it's a place he hasn't been. And I don't see him having the same type of guard as a long, lanky guy like Adam Weiserick. And Gohm should try to avoid these clinch situations, try to avoid the wrestling situations, keep the fight striking in the center of the cage. And, I'm going to go with Arjun Bhullar. I think this fight's a fight that they want him to win. He has a good matchup here. He's fighting a young, raw guy who lacks wrestling, elite-level wrestling technique or one-punch power. So Bullar's pretty safe here. And if Bhullar loses here, I think it severely diminishes his value in the UFC. He's a guy that they really want to try to open the Indian market with. So, that's a big-time fight for Arjun Bhullar and a lot on the line for him there. And up next we have T. Edwards against Don Mej. And, this is a fun fight, It's very hard to find any footage on Don Mej. So, it's kind of hard to predict this fight a little bit, Mej is an interesting guy, He's a veteran of over 100 Muay Thai fights. He looks to be decent on the ground. He's a brown belt in BJJ. Looks decently athletic. He has some good straight punches. He seems to be very sharp. He has nice uppercuts, a good 1-2, some good leg kicks. He seems like he has some decent kicking technique. He does a good job rolling with shots. He has good defense of the pocket. He comes back with his own shots. He has a lot of experience fighting 5-round fights. He has good cardio. Nice knees. I watched him get a finish via knees. He's fought some big names in Muay Thai. He's actually a pretty big star in Thailand, apparently. And looks to have a good chin. He's very calm in a war. And he seems to like he starts slow. He lets fighters get inside on him. And that could be a big problem in this fight because T. Edwards has a lot of massive power. So that's not a good idea to let someone get a few shots in early. And, due to Mej's extensive Muay Thai experience, he looks like he's solid in the clinch, good knees, good elbows, nice body locks. And when he gets you down, he does a good job getting to the back, getting a rear naked choke. It doesn't seem to be a great wrestler, though, offensively or defensively, but he's decent in the scrambles. And he does a good job of ending up on top, getting to the back and finishing. He has finished all of his wins, and he's 0-1-1 in decisions. And his 3 losses have all come to the same guy, so it's a little bit of a weird thing there. But he's won 4 consecutive fights, and it seems like, he has a lot of confidence. And he's really a bit of an unknown. It's hard for me to tell you a game plan he should use, but I'm intrigued to see how he performs. I do think, being a Muay Thai specialist, we should expect him to be good in the clinch, and that could be a spot where he could potentially exploit Edwards, because Edwards doesn't seem like he has the greatest clinch technique with striking. And, T. Edwards, he's a former All-American college wrestler. He's training out of the MMA lab, which is a great gym. He's a great athlete, very powerful fighter. He's coming off a pretty vicious KO in the Contender Series, and he's right in a 5-fight winning streak. You know, his striking is still pretty raw, but he's explosive, he's dangerous, nasty overhand right, very fast, powerful, and explosive. And if he lands clean, he could put opponents out with one shot. And he looks close distance with one-punch attacks. He does a good job staying light on his feet, in and out. He has a nice straight left hand, decent check left hook. And when he gets in close, he has no problem letting his hands go. He'll throw hard hooks, big uppercuts. He doesn't really set his attacks up much. He doesn't really jab. He doesn't throw a lot of feints out there. And due to that, fighters can start to read him. And when he's going to attack, he also keeps his hands pretty low. But he gets away with it due to his athleticism. And, you know, I do think he'll eventually get cracked for that. But, you know, this might be a good fight for him on the feet as well. Because, like I said, Match seems to let people get inside. He does have a decent high kick as well. And when he has you hurt, he goes for the kill. You know, he's finished all his fights by KO, TKO. And he's finished all his wins in round 1. And the only fight he didn't finish in round 1, he lost by decision. So that's something to take into account. But he's a brass guy. He comes in with a lot of confidence. And he's a great wrestler. He's All-American at Old Dominion. Good double legs. Very explosive with his entries. He's usually able to finish pretty easily. He also has decent single legs, but he doesn't shoot much in MMA. He actually likes to strike. And seems to be learning the clinch game still. Like I said, he doesn't have the best clinch technique with striking yet. He allows fighters to control him in the clinch. He gets a cage. He doesn't do a good job pummeling. Doesn't really improve his position much. He does have good trip takedowns from that position, but he needs to improve that facet of his game. His one decision loss, he wasn't really able to get up off of his back or get his back up off the cage. And I see this being more of a stand-up fight. I don't see Edwards really using his wrestling unless the striking is pretty one-sided. And Edwards is going to look to land his overhand right or explode in with a big shot, swarm, and finish the fight. And you do have to wonder about his cardio, and if Magic could survive round 1, maybe he will start to take over the fight. But I'm going to have to go with the more well-known commodity here. I'm going to go with T. Edwards. I think Edwards has serious power. And if he lands, he can finish anyone. You know, I see him closing the distance, landing a big shot, and putting Don Mage out somewhere late in round 1 or early in round 2. And this is a fight that's hard to call, like I said, because Maj is someone that has some interesting experience, but he's hard to find any recent footage. So I'm going to have to roll with T. Edwards. And I'm going to go with T. Edwards to get the win there by, like I said, TKO. And up next we have Sarah Moras against Toledo Bernardo. And what I think is a pretty close fight, you know. I think this is also a pretty 50-50 fight. Fun battle between two good grapplers. Bernardo's a jiu-jitsu black belt. She has pretty limited striking. She's 0-2 in the UFC, and this is her final chance to earn a UFC victory, most likely. And for Sarah Moras, she's a good jiu-jitsu practitioner herself. She has some impressive submission victories, and she's coming off a close decision loss to Lucy Pudilova. She's going to be looking to get some redemption here in her home country. And Bernardo, like I said, her striking is very raw, stands very tall, really telegraphs her punches and kicks. She will throw a jab right hand, the occasional body and head kick. She doesn't move her head. She stands flat-footed. Poor defense. Doesn't really have good movement. She does get tagged quite a bit. She's tough. She has a good chin. She sticks in there. She tries to find a way to get it to the ground. And if she can't find her takedown and force a strike, she gasses pretty badly. And she's always looking to get the fight to the match. She's clearly learning and very comfortable on the feet. And like I said, she's a black belt. She's a solid top game. Good timing on her double leg takedowns. And she can get in very deep on the legs sometimes, and she seems to lack the explosion and drive through on some takedowns. But she does a good job getting in on single legs, being relentless, trying to finish. And if she can't win, she'll even pull guard, try to use half guard sweep, end up on top. She does a good job getting on double underhooks in the clinch, looking for trips. She seems strong in the clinch, and she shows good clinch control against the cage. Once she gets in on top, she's pretty heavy. She likes to use solid pressure passing and move into side control. Ultimately, she'll get to the mount. She'll look for arm bars. She does a good job getting in the back. She gets rear naked chokes. Like I said, she has no problem pulling guard. She's pretty solid off of her back. Good leg locks. She uses them to sweep to top position. Decent arm bar. She can get desperate trying to get to the ground sometimes, exhaust herself. And then she becomes more susceptible to being finished on the feet. She got mounted late in round 3 and finished with strikes against Marion Renault. But Renault is also a very high-level fighter on the ground. And, you know, this fight could be potentially a good matchup for her because she won't have as big a disadvantage in the striking as she has in her first 2 UFC fights because Moras is more of a grappler as well. And for Sarah Moras, she's You know, I would say her striking is more developed than Bernardo's. She's more aggressive on the feet. She likes to close distance with wide hooks, throw head kicks. And, you know, she has a good check left hook. She has decent leg kicks. She has good power, and she can rock fighters on the feet. She's tough. She has the ability to walk through shots. She can get bloodied up, and she has some scar tissue. She's never been finished in her career, but she was dropped in her last match versus Lucy Pudilova twice. And she has very good cardio. She usually has a good round 3. And, you know, she's just very aggressive. But like I said, she also isn't very technical with her striking. She doesn't set things up. She can get hit coming in. And, you know, it's kind of, I would give Moras the advantage on the feet, but it's not that wide of an advantage. And Moras is a solid grappler as well. She has good double legs. But she also likes to drive in her shots just like Bernardo. And she does a good job of attacking with singles. And when she gets on top, she likes to work from guard, works in the guard mainly. You know, just laying short ground and pound, control the round. And she can get booed over, end up on her back on certain takedown attempts. But she's comfortable there on her back, probably better than even on top. She has a nice guard, very good arm bar. She can be controlled in her back, and other than the arm bar, if you pass her guard, she doesn't seem as dangerous after that. And in my opinion, Moras should look to keep it standing, land the harder shots in the stand-up. She's good on the ground as well, but I think Bernardo, being the black belt, is going to be having the advantage. And I'm actually going to go with the upset here. I'm going to go with Toledo Bernardo. I think Moras really likes to close the distance when she strikes. And she's going to give Bernardo the chance to get in the clinch, get takedowns. And Bernardo's a strong chick, man. She's tough. She won a round against Irene Aldana. She won a round against Marion Renault. And I think if Bernardo gets on top of Moras, I don't think Moras will be able to get up. And I don't think she'll be able to get that arm bar. So I'm going to go with Toledo Bernardo to win a close decision here. And up next, we have a pretty interesting fight with Chris Fishgold, who's a UFC newcomer. He's a Cage Warriors champion. And he's going to be fighting Calvin Kattar, who kind of took the UFC by storm in 2017 and really put everyone on notice. So this is a fun fight. And Chris Fishgold is going to be making his UFC debut. He's coming over as the current Cage Warriors 155-pound champion. And he has an amazing record, 17-1-1. He's only fought one time out of England, and it was a loss. So, you know, he's 17-0-1 in England. So he's going to be fighting in Canada here. So this is going to be his second matchup outside of his home country. He lost his first one. So a little bit of an interesting tidbit there. But Fishgold is a submission artist. He's a solid addition to the featherweight division for sure if he can make the weight safely. He's had some problems making the weight in the past. And he's an athletic fighter. He has a good jab, nice straight right hand. Decent left hook as well. He's very quick when he explodes forward with combinations. Good right hook, left hook combo. Likes to mix in uppercuts. Good lateral movement. Good head movement as well. And when he closes distance, he throws a combination. Then he'll also look to mix it up with the wrestling. He doesn't throw many kicks, but he will throw the occasional leg kick. He has very solid uppercuts in the pocket. He doesn't have big power. And, you know, he only has 2 TKOs in his career. But he's never been finished. And he's fought in a lot of 5-round fights, so he should be able to push hard in this fight. And Fishgold likes to close the distance with the overhands or straight punches, getting that single collar tie in the clinch. He's strong there. He really bullies fighters to the cage or to the ground. He has a good double leg. He has a nice single leg. He's well-rounded. He's a good wrestler with a lot of variety of takedowns, you know. And very dangerous with his chokes. He can get them even from a standing position. He'll clamp on that neck, dive on guillotines. And, you know, he even will pull guard. He'll use it to snap his opponents down sometimes, try to spin to the back. He's very heavy on top. He'll slowly work in a dominant position until he can take that back or he can start to land hard ground and pound. And, you know, he uses ground and pound to pass. He's a very good job of doing that. But, you know, he isn't much of a ground and pound to finish guy. He's definitely looking for the submission for the finish. And he has a very fantastic rear naked choke. Good job sneaking that arm under there. He's won 12 fights via submission. And he's only 3-1-1 for decisions in his career, so he's definitely a finisher. And he should look to close the distance in this fight, get the fight to the ground. He can't hang around on the outside with someone with a jab and disciplined boxing game like Kattar. And if Fishgold can get this fight to the ground, you know, he'll probably win the round. If not, find the submission, you know. So it's an interesting fight. And he should try to use leg kicks to slow Kattar down in the fight. And just try to use some simple techniques like a jab or overhand, close the distance, get him backed up against the cage, and try to use that wrestling, you know. And Calvin Kattar, he cemented himself, in my opinion, as a very good fighter in the featherweight division. And he's a top 15 fighter. You know, he came in and defeated 2 fringe top 15 guys. and then he lost a very close contest to in my opinion, top 5 guy in Renato Moicano. And Kattar's a fantastic boxer. He has one of the best jabs in MMA. He'll double and triple up on it. It's stiff, it's sharp, very clean punches, very little wasted movement, very nasty 1-2, straight down the pipe. His right hand is like a piston, man. That straight right fires straight down the pipe, very fast. Very nice left hook uppercut combo. Digs to the body with hooks. I really like this guy's striking, man. Very nice lateral movement, always circling back to the center of the cage. Very good head movement. Good defensive boxing technique. Always keeps a high guard. Very nice leg kicks, front kicks to the body. He brings that kick up to the head as well. He has a great chin. He's never been finished via strikes in his career. Keeps a high volume of shots out there. Definitely has a great style to win decisions. He has a record of 8-2 in decisions. He is coming off a loss, so he needs to bounce back with the win here to maintain his status as a future future contender. To be honest, I mean, I think he has that potential. He isn't much of a grappler, but he has good timing on doubles and singles, and he likes to get him at the end of the round to seal the rounds. And when he takes fighters down, he likes to get the half guard, land short shots, ground and pound. He seems to have good lateral movement, and his jabs and straight punches, they make it hard for fighters to close the distance on him. He has a 100% takedown defense rate in the UFC, but I haven't seen him, tested much with grappling in his 3 fights, so it's hard to tell. I watched one of his fights in Elite XC, which was all the way in 2008, so this is also very hard to tell, but he was taken down and submitted in that fight, and, that's the only time he's been submitted in his 21-fight career, so, that's more of an anomaly than anything, but, it's something to take into account, I guess. And Kattar has good cardio. He can keep the same output for all 3 rounds without slowing down. And he needs to have his lateral movement on point, keep his jab pumping. He can't let himself get back against the cage or let Fishgold get inside on him. And, I think Kattar has good distance control, good pull counters, and he needs to use that in this fight for sure. And I think Kattar has a major advantage having fought elite guys, such as Renato Moicano. And, just being in that environment, I haven't felt that. This can be Fishgold's debut. Like I said, the second time fighting out of his home country. So, this is going to be a tough fight for him. And I think that he's going to keep Fishgold at the end of his shots. Ultimately, I think he might even finish Fishgold when Fishgold gets a little bit desperate to close the distance. But I'm going to say that Calvin Kattar wins via decision here. Pretty clear, concise, dominant decision for Calvin Kattar. Even though I do think that Fishgold could potentially even win a round. I think that the rounds that Kattar wins will be pretty clear. And, I really think that Fishgold could be a good addition, but I think Calvin Kattar is going to get it done in this one. And up next we have Nasrat Haqparast fighting against Thibault Guty. And, this seems kind of like a setup fight for Nasrat. Thibault isn't the worst fighter, man, but he must have done something to the UFC because, shit, man, they keep putting in here in these showcase fights or someone else. He fought a young gun in his last fight against Sage Northcutt, had a controversial decision loss in that one, and now it's in Texas in Sage's hometown, and now he's fighting in, the adopted hometown of Nasrat Haqparast. He's training out of TriStar, and, he was also a 23-year-old young gun who's coming off a dominant decision against Mark Giacchese. So, this is a tough fight for Thibault, and Thibault's lost 3 out of 4 fights, so definitely his back against the wall here with the loss. He's almost certain to lose his UFC job, and he's a big underdog here against Nasrat, and for good reason, man. I mean, I called that upset against Nasrat against Mark Giacchese on my last video. Like I said, I really like what I see from Nasrat. Only 23 years old. He's training at TriStar with some killers. You saw Mandel Nalo come in and get that win in Bellator recently. You've seen guys like Roy McDonald, GSP, just tearing it up over the years, and he's been training with those guys for a long time, and I think Nasrat is just a very great striker, man. Clean punching, very good combinations. He does a great job putting his hands together, clean straight punches, straight right hand has big power. Did a great job shuffling in his last fight, controlling that distance, cutting the cage off. Just extreme pressure, not giving Giacchese any room to breathe, any room to use his kicks. He has good knees when you come in. He has a very nice uppercut, very good chin. He's actually a pretty good grappler as well. In his early fights, he takes a lot of people down with doubles and pounds them out. Good sprawl. He does a good job of disengaging, going back to the striking. Very good cardio as well. And, I feel like he's an amazing prospect for this division. I think he's someone that could potentially be in the top 15 pretty quickly. And very good, very good fighter in my opinion. And up next we have T-Ball Guty, and T-Ball Guty, he's trained out of Jackson Wink, and he's also a pretty good fighter. He's dangerous. He has good power. Catches people coming in with big shots. Decent wrestling as well. But this is just a tough fight for him. Guty's a slick striker. He has good takedown defense, good anti-clinch. A lot of power in his shots. He could definitely knock out Haqparast if he's not careful. But he does struggle to keep his power for the later rounds. He tends to slow down. And definitely needs to have his cardio on point in this fight. And I thought that he did a very good job against, against Sage Northcutt. I thought that he hurt him. Guty has some solid fundamental striking, good power in his hooks. Comes forward with his chin up a little bit. Sometimes he can get a little bit aggressive. He has some bad defense. And he's been finished very quickly multiple times in the UFC career because of that. But he's had a few good showings as well. His decision loss with the OAM was competitive. And his fight with David Tamer, he was able to, have a good fight there. He gets caught. He struggles with explosive counters. And, that's something that definitely is going to cause him trouble here. And, I just think that Nasrat's just on the next level. He's on a higher level than Guty. And I just think that Nasrat's going to come out here and I think he's going to get a first-round knockout, man. I think he's going to cement himself as someone to watch moving forward. And I'm going to go with Nasrat Haqparast for a first-round knockout in that fight. And up next, you have a pretty interesting, pretty close fight with Nordine Taleb against Sean Strickland. And, Sean Strickland versus Nordine Taleb puts two technical strikers against each other. Both fighters are coming off losses via finish in their last fight. Taleb got submitted and Strickland got KO'd. And Strickland's returning 5 months after getting knocked out. So you have to wonder how he's going to react to getting cracked like that. And both guys need a win here, Taleb is 37 years old. A loss here would probably put his career in no man's land, to be honest with you. And Sean Strickland, he's a long-time prospect. He's never really seemed to reach potential. He's win-loss. And a loss here would almost guarantee he never does, in my opinion. And Strickland, he's tall, he's long for the division. Really tries to accentuate that reach. He has a nice jab, good check left hook. He follows that up his jab with a nice straight right hand or a good right hook. Keeps a high volume of punches out there. He's able to keep the same pace the entire fight. Good front kicks to the body. Nice inside-outside leg kicks. He does a good job using lateral movement, good distance control. Keeps his opponents at the end of his shots. But he does stand too flat-footed, and fighters are able to close the distance with the overhands, or, if they get more aggressive with combinations with that second and third shot. He doesn't move his head much, and sometimes uses a little bit of that tall man defense. Sometimes he'll try to lean back to avoid shots. He has a good chin. He's able to eat shots, keep coming, and continue to execute his game plan. He's not someone that's going to ever deviate or start to do something because the crowd is going to boo. And he's a fighter who never really puts it all out there, in my opinion. He fights safe. He's very content taking a decision victory, not going for the finish. But that's something that, I like to see as well, because that's a fighter that, if he has the win, he's going to get the win for sure. He's never going to, overexert himself and have a stupid loss. So, it's a good style to have if you want to be a long-term winner. And he's coming off a bad KO loss, so we're going to have to see how that will affect his confidence and chin moving forward. And he's a well-rounded fighter. He's a solid grappler, strong in the clinch, very good body lock takedowns. He likes to circle to the back and get slams. On top, he has a good job posturing, landing hard punches, good punches and passing. And, I think it would be wise of Strickland to use more offensive wrestling in his fights, because he's pretty dangerous on top, good top control. He's good at floating, staying on top. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He has 5 submissions, good hips, good balance when defending takedowns. Very hard to take down himself, and if you get him down, he does a good job of getting back to his feet. He's never been submitted before, and he has good cardio. He keeps the same pace for the whole fight, like I said, and he should look to use that lateral movement, punching to frustrate Taleb. We saw Santiago Ponzinibbio use this very similar game plan, and then I think they should try to use takedowns, try to take Taleb down, work from top position. We saw that Taleb got submitted in his last fight, and I think that Strickland could potentially finish if he gets on top of Taleb. And Nordine Taleb, he's a physical specimen, man. He's a very athletic fighter, very tactical striker. He has a nice jab, good leg kicks, very nice front kick to the body, good round kicks to the body as well. He does a good job countering while using good lateral movement. And he has a nice check left hook, good straight right hand. He is a bit flat-footed, but he is quicker and lighter on his feet than Strickland, in my opinion. He likes to walk his opponents down. He likes to keep heavy pressure, keep a high guard, pop his jab out there, then try to wait and try to, bait you in so he can throw a pull counter with his right hand. He likes to catch kicks, follow up with a really nice straight right hand. He had a nasty head kick finish against Danny Roberts, but wasn't really set up. Seemed like it was kind of a, I wouldn't want to say a lucky kick, but just seemed like he kind of caught him clean there when he, with the kick they didn't really set up. But Taleb is similar to Strickland in terms of he doesn't throw himself in the fire. He fights pretty safe. He doesn't throw many overhands or head kicks, and he doesn't put himself in a lot of dangerous positions. But I think he should try to throw longer combinations, more straight punches, more overhand shots, because Strickland doesn't move his head. And even though Taleb doesn't throw a lot of overhands, I think he should try to utilize that in this fight, because he could land one punch, long-range snipe Strickland and knock him out, because Strickland's coming off a pretty recent knockout loss. And Taleb is a strong guy. He makes it hard for him to take down. He doesn't really shoot for doubles or takedowns himself, very often, but he will shoot the occasional double leg. He likes to attempt his shots when his fighters are jammed against the cage. And on top, he has solid ground and pound, good control, but nothing devastating. He likes getting that half guard or side control, land short elbows. He is a brown belt under Frost Hobby, so should have some decent jiu-jitsu, but, he has been threatened with submission attempts multiple times off his back. He's been put in an arm bar, put in a triangle, but he's pretty strong. He does a good job posturing out of those positions, and he lands some decent shots on top. He will take opponents down off of caught kicks, and he's very strong. He'll slam him to the mat sometimes. He's strong in the clinch. He lands nice knees to the body, and then he'll disengage. He does a good job getting that whizzer and, turning his opponents on initial takedown attempts. And overall, he has solid takedown defense. He did a stupid thing in his last fight. He started to try to attack the leg lock against Claudio Silva. Ended up on bottom with his back taken and got choked out. And, I don't see Taleb going for takedowns here against Strickland. And I'm going to pick shot Strickland here. I think both guys are hesitant to close distance, get in the pocket. And Strickland's a longer guy. I see him landing the jab, busted up Taleb's face, landing a bit more volume. And I think Taleb will need to be more aggressive, commit more to moving into the pocket. And I don't think he's going to do that. I think Strickland's only 27 years old. He's still striving to be the best fighter in the world. Taleb is 37. He can't have that same hunger, in my opinion. And because of that, I'm going to go with Sean Strickland to win a pretty close decision. But I think he's going to be the better fighter out there. And then next we have John Villante against, we have Alex Garcia against Court McGee. And this is a pretty interesting fight, Alex Garcia has been a long-time guy that people have been praising, trying to say that he's going to be a next big thing coming out of TriStar. And he never really materialized. And, Court McGee has always been a tough guy. He's a veteran, but he's a little bit past his prime. So this is a bit of an odd fight, but Garcia's a great athlete. He's a very explosive fighter. Like I said, long-time staple of TriStar MMA. But he hasn't added much to his game over his career. He's still athletic, explosive. He tries to land that overhand right, the occasional straight right hand, front kick to the body. He has a nice, left hook. But overall striking is not that good. He doesn't set up his overhands or blitz attacks with jabs or feints. And it makes it very obvious to read. He will throw crazy spinning attacks at times, such as spinning back fist, but he usually never sets him up. He'll miss wildly. He does have big knockout power, and if he lands, especially in round one, you could be in trouble. He definitely gets tired as the fight goes on, so the first round is his most dangerous round. He's a great wrestler. He's very strong in the clinch. Good chain wrestling. He explodes with big doubles, and he can come back up, get double underhooks, get the body lock or the single leg. Very explosive shot. It's hard to deny if he can get in on your legs. On top, he has good control. He's very heavy. Good job getting the half guard, trapping the wrist, and trying to get to the back. Great rear naked choke. He can get a bit desperate at times, try to get to the back. He gets shucked off and end up on bottom. And he doesn't offer much off his back. He doesn't have a good get-up game. He has never been submitted, and so he's going to be hard to submit, but he doesn't have a lot of, submission himself off his back. And, he doesn't set takedown attempts up well, and fighters are able to stuff him easily as he starts to tire out. He is a finisher. He's finished 12 of his 15 wins. He's only 3-3 in decisions. And Garcia needs to finish this fight in round one, or I think it's going to be a long night for him. He's going to be the much quicker, more explosive athlete, but McGee's going to be someone that's a guy that takes over as the fight goes on, and I think Garcia should try to land his overhand early, take McGee out, and if you can't, resort to wrestling, and just try to grind him out in those last two rounds, maybe take the second round with wrestling and then lose the third or something. But if Garcia can win the wrestling against McGee, that would be a huge component to him winning the fight, in my opinion. And Court McGee's lost 2 in a row. He's probably going to be cut with the loss here. But he's a former tough champion. He's an 8-year veteran in the organization. Tough, gritty, well-rounded dude with elite gas take and a never-say-die attitude. And he's a more technical striker. He's light on his feet, good lateral movement. He'll throw a variety of strikes. He has nice leg kicks, good high kick, good hands, a nice jab, good straight right hand. He likes to throw front kicks to the body, good front knees. He has a strong right and left hook. He closes distance well with his hooks. Good head movement. He has long combinations in the pocket. Keeps heavy pressure and volume on his opponents. He likes to close distance, get in the single collar clinch, those sharp uppercuts. He isn't the fastest guy, but his volume and forward pressure wears on fighters. As time goes on, McGee starts kicking your ass, and you don't know what happened. And he has a sick chin. He eats shots. He stays right in the pocket. He continues to move forward. And he's only been finished 1 time in his entire career, but he doesn't possess big power himself. He only has 3 TKOs. He has his back against the wall here. And I expect him to come out in great shape and go for broke. He's only 33 years old. A lot of people think he's a lot older than that, but he is a bit weathered, but he's a grinder. He thrives in the war, whether it's on the feet or in the grappling realm. He doesn't shoot for takedowns to the center of the cage, but if he ever gets fighters back against the cage, you better believe he's going to close that distance, look to land short knees, to the body, to the head, short shots to the clinch, and then change levels, shoot for doubles, shoot for singles. And he isn't the most efficient wrestler early on, but he keeps shooting, he keeps going for chaining them together, and eventually he starts to take you down. And in round 3, he gets takedowns in the majority of his fights. And when he gets on top, he has nice ground and pound. He likes to punch and pass to better positions. No problem staying in your guard, beating you up either. He has good elbows and punches. He's never been submitted in his career, so he has good submission defense. Definitely proved that he could fight off the ground against anyone. He was beating Ben Saunders up in his guard. Had no problem with the rubber guard against Ben Saunders. And he's earned 9 submissions himself, mostly rear naked chokes. And McGee needs to be careful in round 1, but I think his long range kicking game and his ability to land on the outside is going to frustrate Garcia, and I think McGee's going to wear him out. I think if he can deny the takedowns of Garcia, I think he's going to win this fight. And McGee has cleaner boxing, better long range striking, and I think as the fight goes on, he's going to be able to start to implement his own grappling game as well. So I'm going to go with Court McGee via decision. I don't think Garcia is going to catch him with the overhand or take McGee down, and I think that Court McGee is going to grind him out and win a pretty close decision. I think he'll win rounds 2 or 3 probably. And up next, John Villante against Ed Herman. And this is just a terrible fight in my opinion. But both these guys are most likely no longer UFC caliber, but they have name value. They always come to bang. They bring good fights. Both fighters have lost 3 or 4 fights. They're most likely at the tail ends of their career. But Ed Herman, he's a UFC veteran. He's fought 20 times in the UFC. A record of 10-9-1. And he's fighting at 205 again after fighting most of his career at 185. And I feel he looked a bit sloppy at 205 against CB Dalloway, so I'm interested to see how he looks. And Ed Herman is a grinder. He isn't very technical with his striking, but he throws a 1-2, a long looping hook, almost like a Russian casting hook. He has good body head attacks, keeps a decent amount of volume out there. He doesn't throw big power, but overall he has decent range striking. It's probably the least dangerous part of his game, though. He's susceptible to getting caught with shorter, more technical shots because he loads up on almost all shots. He's very obvious. He does have a solid chin, but he has been finished 3 times. And, his chin is starting to show wear and tear. And he's strong in the clinch. He has some nice short uppercuts, good knees to the head. He showed that he has big power and short range with a nice knee knockout of Tim Bosch. And that was his last victory. He's a good wrestler. He has solid takedown defense. And he has 32 takedowns in his UFC career. And on top, he has big elbows. He'll cut his opponents up. He likes to get to the back. He has a nice rear naked choke. Off his back, he doesn't have a great get-up game, but he is active. He has good arm bars. He'll attack with leg locks. He was controlled out wrestling his last fight against CB Dalloway. And Herman isn't going to come in with anything we haven't seen. In order for him to win this fight, he needs to make Villante work, really stay in his face, close the distance. I think he's going to be a lot smaller, and I think that he's going to be the less technical striker, a big disadvantage at range. So definitely needs to muddy this fight up, make it a dog fight. And, similar game plan to what Pat Cummins had against John Villante. And, John Villante is a perennial underachiever. You know, he's a long-time training partner of Chris Weidman. He's been given every opportunity to move into contendership time and time again. He always drops the ball. But he's a good athlete. He packs a lot of power. Have to respect him. Fast starter. Comes out strong in almost all his fights. He has a nice jab. Strong leg kicks. Good forward pressure. He does a good job controlling the center of the cage. Nice straight right hand. Good right hook. Good accuracy on it when he's fresh. He has some solid power. He likes to throw a jab, rear uppercut combo. He will throw the occasional front kick to the body and high kick as well. Good speed for the division. He's usually dominant in round 1. Has major gas tank issues. He'll slow significantly after that fight. His punches start to come much slower, much more labored, very telegraphed. Slows down the forward pressure. And, you know, he starts to get hit clean with himself. You know, he doesn't move his head and lowers his hands as the fight goes on. He has showed a solid shit over his career overall, but I would say he's looked a bit shitty recently. And Villante is going to be the significantly better striker in this matchup with much cleaner technique early. He should try to finish the fight in round 1 because Herman's grinding style may start to wear on him as the fight goes on. And Villante isn't much of a grappler in the cage. Very rarely, if ever, initiates a clinch or looks for takedowns. Matt Serra, his coach, says he's pretty good with takedowns, BJJ, top control, but never shows it. He has good takedown defense, though, and I would be surprised if Herman could get him down to the ground, to be honest. Patrick Cummins was not able to take him down, and he's defended 83% of his takedown attempts against him in the UFC. And he hasn't earned a takedown himself since 2015, so don't think that he's going to go for takedowns here. He's never been submitted, only has one submission himself. And his last 3 fights have all been split decisions, so I'm sure he's going to want to finish this fight or make it not close. And he should look to start fast, take Herman out early, and Herman's older, he's weathered, and Villante has a good chance to finish the first round. And that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to go with John Villante in my first round finish, but, you know, would not be surprised if he dropped the ball once again. And then next you have Andre Soukhamthath against a newcomer here, Jonathan Martinez. And, you know, I watched tape on, this is a bit of an odd matchup in my opinion. Jonathan Martinez is going to be making his UFC debut. He's going to be coming off of over a year layoff. He's also 32 years old, so he's not a spring chicken, especially for the bantamweight division. He's going to be replacing Graham Tucker on short notice, so he had a short training camp for this one as well. But he looks to be fairly quick and athletic, nice striking technique, quick snappy jab, good kicks. He'll throw a jab right hook or jab head kick combination. He likes to lunge in with single punch combinations that get out. He throws nice hard leg kicks, good oblique kicks. He has a nice front kick to the body, good round kicks. He likes to use those separate knees to the body. He does a good job mixing it up, body head. Good straight right hand, good uppercut right hand combination. He has a good head kick. His kick comes pretty quick with no telegraph, but they don't pack huge power. He has solid defense, keeps a high guard, decent head movement. His only loss is via DQ, so he's technically never been defeated by something his opponent has done. He's a Mexican fighter. He has a good chin. He'll get hit, continue to cut forward, push the pace. Doesn't seem to be much of an offensive wrestler. He doesn't shoot for takedowns. He doesn't get in the clinch. But he will, you know, dig an underhook, control his opponent against the cage if they were to close the distance. But he doesn't have much offense from there. You know, he doesn't have good takedown defense, but he likes to fight off his back. He has a nice guard. Does a good job trapping the wrist. He has a good triangle choke. Good armbar as well. And if he does end up on top, he moves to the back quickly, gets the body triangle. He doesn't have the best control of the back. He can't be put on his back off of that position. People can turn in on him. And he seems like he is the most physically gifted fighter. And, you know, I see Soukhamthath being the stronger, more athletic guy. And Martinez should try to stick and move out volume Soukhamthath here. And Soukhamthath's coming off a pretty brutal loss, you know. He had the fight all but won, but instead of staying on the feet, he took him down. He took down Sean O'Malley, who couldn't walk. And he took a lot of grief for that decision, so I'm curious to see how he's going to bounce back here. And, you know, he's actually fought some decent high-level fighters in the UFC. He's fought Alejandro Perez, fought Sean O'Malley. And, you know, he's a pretty slick striker. He has a good jab, throws it hard and stiff. Nice check left hook, good left hook to the body. He likes to try to close the distance, pull counter with his straight right hand. He has good power in his shots. He can finish with the one shot for sure. He did that against Luke Sanders. He has a very nice step-in uppercut. And when he walks forward, lets his shots go, that's when he's most dangerous. He has a nasty flying knee. He can't get too involved. He's just trying to counterpunch coasted fights. And I think he makes them a lot closer than they should be. And he has a great chin. He showed that against O'Malley. He took some massive shots. He's never been finished in his career. He has 8 KO, TKOs himself. And he's going to be looking for another one on October 27th. And he is a bunch of a grappler, but he has solid takedown defense. Good job lip legging out of single leg attempts. And, he denies double leg entries pretty good. He can be controlled against the fence. And, I think he's going to be the better offensive wrestler in this fight, though. And, he'll look to close the distance at time, land body locks. He has a good drive against the fence. With double legs, he'll drop and get a single. He likes to move with a side control from that position, look for ground and pound, but he isn't devastated on top. He will look for guillotines. He has 3 guillotines. And, his record of decisions is terrible, though. He's 1-6 in decisions, so, he should be extra motivated, though, to shut people up and have a performance here. And, Soukhamthath should look to walk down Martinez, get him uncomfortable early, and, catch him and knock him out. And, I think that he definitely has the power to do that. And I'm going to go with Andre Soukhamthath via second round knockout. I think this is a big step up for Martinez. And I think that Andre should look to start fast, make him comfortable early, and should make him feel like he doesn't belong in there, get Martinez on the back foot, and then catch a shot, find him, and knock him out. So I'm going to go with Andre Soukhamthath in that one. And up next, you have Misha Cirkunov against Patrick Cummins, and what's a pretty interesting, fun fight, in my opinion. Misha Cirkunov, he's lost 2 in a row. He had a pretty promising start to his UFC career. And Patrick Cummins is coming off a decision loss against Corey Anderson. And Cirkunov is making a big change. He's came over to the United States. He's traded at Extreme Couture's. Previously, he stated that he was training with a bunch of friends, teammates, and they didn't have any coaching. They were doing their own game plans. And so this is the first time he's going to be getting some high-level coaching. And, he's a well-rounded fighter. He has a great skill set, nice hands. He throws his punches very quick and clean. Very nice, good straight right hand, very snappy jab. He throws the 1-2 right down the pipe. He has a very nice right hook. He'll throw the good check left hook as well. And, good body kicks, occasional head kick. He can be a bit stiff with his kicking technique. He doesn't move his head off center line. It makes him susceptible to being counters. He does have good step and knee, good Superman punch. He does a good job of closing the distance with punching combinations, long hooks, uppercuts. He does have a questionable chin. He doesn't seem to react well to getting hit. And, he's lost back-to-back fights via KO, TKO, and the KO loss he had versus Oezdemir was pretty strange. And I think that even with those 2 losses, he's going to have confidence knowing that he's treated as a legitimate camp this time. And he's a decorated BJJ player. He's an ADCC North American gold medalist. He does a pretty good job in the clinch. He has a, good job landing short punches and elbows. And he can occasionally go for the takedown, throw body kicks, and, or body locks. And, sometimes he'll go for these sacrifice throws and end up on his back, which I don't really like to see. But he has a good double leg, especially against a cage. And on top, he's dangerous. Solid ground and pound, plethora of submissions. He's got guillotines, triangles, arm bars, arm triangles, inverted triangles. And he has solid takedown defense, but it hasn't been tested much in the UFC. Glover was able to take him down in the clinch. He's decent off his back. He has good arm bars, does a good job sweeping, getting top position. But once Glover was able to pass his guard, he's quickly able to get a dominant position, finish Cirkunov, and it seems like Cirkunov folded a bit in that fight. And Cirkunov should try to keep this fight on the feet, keep Cummins at the end of his strikes, and, just beat him up. But Cummins is aging, he's taking a lot of damage, and if Misha can land clean and heavy, he definitely has a chance to finish there in round 1. And Patrick Cummins is the definition of a grinder, man. He's a gritty wrestler. He has the ability to take a large heel punishment, keep coming. And he's improved his striking over the years. He likes to use a jab or an overhand right. It does a good job of disguising it by level changing, coming over the top. He will throw a nice left hook. He does a good job landing a good long right hook. He will throw the occasional kick. He seems to actually have a fairly strong leg kick. He'll even go high. His high kick seems to be not very effective, though. He throws kicks rarely. He isn't very fast. And fighters seem with cleaner, tighter punches really give him problems. He seems to get beat up and dropped in almost every first round of his fights and then comes back. He definitely has a lot of scar tissue and, gets beat up pretty badly in round 1. Will get a lot of blood on him. And he's been finished 4 times via KO, TKO. But he does a good job recovering quickly. He has a very good chin. He doesn't have big power. He only has 3 TKO finishes in his career. He has a very strong wrestler. He has nice double legs, nice single legs as well. Does a good job chain wrestling, sticking to fighters if he can't find the initial takedown. And good trips, good body locks, his good takedown defense himself. He likes to try to use a switch to counter, end up on top. If you do get him down, he does a good job of bellying down, staying back up. On top, he's solid. He has big ground and pound, but nothing devastating. He isn't much of a submission guy. He does have great cardio. He's able to push even in round 3. He needs to try to close the distance to make it a grappling match because Cirkunov is much faster with his hands. He's definitely the piece Cummins up from the outside. And once Cummins can get that lactic acid going in Cirkunov, that's possible, get his arms going from that wrestling, then he could try to stand up for longer periods of time. But, the longer the fight goes on, I think it favors Patrick Cummins. And, I see him trying to use the same game plan of wrestling, taking Cirkunov to deep waters. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Misha Cirkunov via first round KO. I feel that his back is against the wall here. 2 consecutive losses. I think he's going to come in determined. And I think he's going to land that first round knockout. So I'm going to go with Misha Cirkunov via first round finishing that fight. And I think as the fight goes on, I do think that, Patrick Cummins becomes more and more live, though. And I'm next to Michael Johnson gets Artem Lobov. And, Artem Lobov, let's have a moment of silence here for Michael Johnson. Okay, because, he's going to be fighting the GOAT, and Artem Lobov is someone that's a deadly weapon. So, prayers to Michael Johnson, props for taking this fight. This is definitely going to be a tough matchup for him, and he definitely has the potential to come out there dead, because Artem has been known to kill a lot of people in that octagon. He's a fucking beast, and Artem comes to fight. No, but okay, this is a, I don't know. I don't even know why Artem's in the UFC, to be honest, and Michael Johnson is, I think he's going to be landing in the pocket all day. Artem has kind of those T-Rex arms where I think he's going to be coming up short. I think Michael Johnson could be landing that left hook, and I think it could be a really early night for Artem Lobov, in my opinion. I think that Michael Johnson's a big guy. I think that he's someone that has big knockout power. I don't think that he's going to come in wanting to play with Artem Lobov. I think that he's going to come in right away looking to get a big finish over a guy that's, a name that really shouldn't be a name, probably in Michael Johnson's opinion. I think that Michael Johnson could have a speed advantage with his hands, major speed advantage, and I just see Artem Lobov as a guy that's not going to use a lot of lateral movement. He's not going to try to play a game with Michael Johnson. He's going to come in. He's going to try to fight him. And I see Michael Johnson laying him out, knocking him out early. And, Artem has a good chin, but, I don't see him taking that power, those clean, straight shots of Michael Johnson, those clean hooks. And I think Michael Johnson's going to knock him out in the first round with a left hook in the pocket. And, I'm pretty confident in that fight, And I'm next to Moncton Oezdemir against Anthony Smith. Very fun fight, Anthony Smith is a guy, who moved up to 205, had a problem with starting slow, and then he starting off really fast, and he kind of even started that against Thiago Santos. He lost that fight, but he started that fight off very quickly, was right in Santos' face, trying to close that distance, and that's how he has to fight here again, the person that's going to be moving backwards is going to be the person that's losing this fight, 100%, because Moncton Oezdemir is a guy that comes out like a fucking house on fire at the start of the fight. He did it against OSP, did it against DC, comes out, and he's a fast guy for being that big, man, and he comes out throwing a lot of big power hooks, big kicks, head kicks, and he's going for the fucking finish, man, and he's going to be right in your face, close that distance, keep it extreme pressure. And he does tend to slow down after that, but he is something that I've seen about him that, Anthony Smith has said in some interviews that he doesn't think that Moncton likes fighting in the power or in the chaos. He doesn't like fighting in the crazy time because he got finished by Daniel Cormier. But that was, on the ground. And I don't think Moncton quitted that. I really think he could have get out of that crucifix. And, I've seen him, Moncton, he's been a long-time trading partner of Anthony Johnson. And, I've seen in that fight against OSP where he was getting lit up at the end of that third round, man, taking huge shots, clean combinations, and he has the ability to give it back. He has the ability to be taking those huge shots, cover up, and then find his opening, land a short shot, land a knee, and then rock you as well, and he's able to take a big shots, man. He has a hell of a chin, he's taking some huge shots against DC as well, so I do think that Moncton has a much better chin than Anthony Smith, because, DC went up to heavyweight and knocked out Stipe Miocic, and he was landing some clean shots on Moncton Oezdemir, clean hooks, clean uppercuts in that first round, and I do think Moncton tends to slow down with that forward pressure, so I think that he almost has to get this fight done in the first 3 rounds. You know, after the 3rd round, even in the 3rd round, if it gets there, I think that Anthony Smith is going to start to take over this fight. But, you know, for Moncton Oezdemir, you know, he's going to have to get in his face. I don't think Anthony Smith has fought a guy this big. You know, Moncton's a big guy. Moncton's a guy with big power. And, you know, I think that he could definitely give Anthony Smith a lot of problems because Anthony Smith is also someone that's going to come forward. They're going to meet in the middle. And, you know, he's not someone that's going to try to use grappling. And I actually think that Moncton is a better wrestler in this matchup. He has a decent double leg. And especially wrestling-wise. I don't know if he ends up on his back. If, you know, Anthony Smith probably could do stuff on top. But I do think one thing that Anthony Smith could take advantage of in this fight is the way that Moncton Oezdemir defends once he gets hit with the shot. You know, sometimes when you get hit clean, he'll just cover up and back straight up in a straight line with his guard high. And Anthony Smith does a great job of coming forward with long hooks, uppercuts, and blitzing forward when he has a guy, you know, backing straight up with his guard. So Moncton could definitely get pieced up if he tries to do that. You know, but ultimately, you know, I just think that Moncton Oezdemir is just a guy that comes out on fire. He has huge power, and I think Anthony Smith is going to test him yet, and I think Anthony Smith is going to lose that battle, man. And we've seen Anthony Smith get knocked out plenty of times before against smaller guys, and, you know, Moncton Oezdemir, he's never been knocked out before, and like I said, I've seen him take some massive shots, huge punches, and I think Moncton has a sick chin. You know, I think he has a very good chin, and, you know, even his last fight where he got TKO'd, that was just because he got stuck in a position. It's not like he was knocked out cold or rocked badly. And, you know, he got rocked very badly against OSP. But, you know, I just think that Moncton's someone that's, I think he's going to come out like a house on fire in round 1. I think Anthony Smith is going to oblige. I think they're going to probably meet in the middle. And, you know, I think that Moncton's going to maybe even be backed up against the cage or back Anthony. I think it could be either way. I think that even if Anthony Smith is backing Moncton against the cage, I think that Moncton's going to be the one that lands a big shot in the pocket, even with his back against the cage, and finishes the fight. Or I think if he starts walking down Anthony Smith allows Moncton to be the aggressor, I think that's going to be an even quicker night for Moncton. And ultimately, I'm going to go with Moncton Oezdemir via first-round knockout. And pretty confident in that fight, but like I said, as the fight goes on, I think that it starts to favor Anthony Smith, you know. But for my most confident pick of the night for this card, I would probably go with I want to say Nasrat Haqparast is my most confident pick, but he's a big time favorite. But I'm gonna go with Nasrat Haqparast as my pick, and I'm gonna start to give you guys an underdog pick as well. And my underdog pick for this card is gonna be Jesse Ayari, and I also think McGee is a decent underdog pick as well. But for the parlay of the week, I'll probably go with, you know, Nasrat, Haqparast, and Moncton Oezdemir, or Nasrat Haqparast and Arjun Bhullar. Either of those two I think are pretty safe parlays. Or if you want to, you know, you could parlay, I don't know, I think that's a pretty good play. I think that, you know, Sean Strickland versus Nordine Taleb, Alex Garcia versus McGee, John Villante versus Ed Herman, all these fights where Misha Cirkunov versus Patrick Cummins, you know, all these fights where it's a guy that comes out very fast in round 1 and then starts to fade, you know, that might be good fights to check out that prop for a draw and, you know, bet on a draw on those fights, and maybe you might get lucky and get one draw and have some, you know, a pretty good win there. But I do think that Nasrat Haqparast inside the distance, maybe I'll use that as my most confident pick, because it'll be a bit at better odds. So go with that. If you could do the prop with Nasrat Haqparast inside the distance, that'll be my most confident pick of the night here. And, you know, like I said, I did go with a few upsets like Justin Ayari, Toledo Bernardo, McGee, Sean Strickland, I believe, is an underdog as well. And, you know, I do think there's some other people that are live, you know, such as Patrick Cummins. But, you know, like I said, hopefully we have a good card on this one. I'm pretty excited for the UFC to be back. Next week we have DC against Derek Lewis, which is a pretty crazy fight. And, you know, so comment, like, subscribe, tell me what you think. Tell me if you agree, disagree with my picks, what your most confident picks in, what plays you're going to be doing. And, you know, I'm pretty curious. I want to know what all you guys are thinking. And, you know, make sure if you like this video to, you know, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share with your friends that are liking it. I would have tried to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I would have tried to, start to make this channel a little bit more fun. Maybe get a better camera. Get a mic and start to maybe put up some graphics, make it a little bit cooler, implement some new things in these breakdown videos. So once I get to 1,000 subscribers, I can start to monetize my videos. That could go a long way towards doing that. And I'm really appreciative of everyone that watches all my videos, follows the content, and thanks a lot. You guys don't have to watch them every week. I know there's a lot of other people that do this as well, but thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for watching every week, every time I put out a video, for those people that do. And, keep commenting, keep talking to me. I'm always going to be commenting back, and always be there to talk to you if you have a question, if you want to ask some advice on betting. So, keep asking those comments, keep asking those questions, and putting what your thoughts are. And thanks for watching, and let's look forward to UFC Moncton this week and cash those bets.